Hi, this is Donna. Welcome to DD Paper Crafts. In today's video, we're making this tower of boxes, which was inspired by some cosmetic packaging which I saw online. I've used a ribbon to secure the doors of my piece, and you can see this opens up like so, and the boxes in the middle come out like so, and it would sit like so. The sizes of the box trays are 3 inches square, and these two are 1 inch high, and then this box again is 3 inches, and it's 4 inches at the highest point and 2 inches at the front here. But you will see in the video how easy it would be to make this project any size you needed for your particular gifts. The box comes together relatively quickly, so let's put the project together. We're going to start by making the bottom angled sided box, and for this you'll need a piece of cardstock which is 10 inches by 4 1/4. Along the long side, score at half, 3 1/2, 6 1/2 and 9 1/2. Rotate, and along the short side score at 3 3/4. Then we're going to score down within the top 1/2 inch tab at 1 3/4 down to the 1/2 inch score line. Then I'm going to flip the piece over and do the same like so. And in addition, for the base box, you'll need a piece which is 3 inches by 2 1/2 inches, and along the short side score at 2. Fold and burnish. I'm then going to cut from the end of the score line within the 1/2 inch section here across to the top of this second vertical. So I'm going to turn it in this direction. I'm going to use my craft knife and ruler. So I'm working from the end of this score line and cutting across to the top of that score line. Like so. I'm going to do the same on this side. So I'm just shaping the outer 2 sections. So we can now bring in our scissors and extend all the way to the outside of the cardstock. You don't need to stop as I've done. If you have done, then just carry on that cut line like so, and do the same at this side. We're going to remove the bottom left and right hand corners and cut up the 2 score lines within the 1/2 inch tab at the bottom up to the long horizontal. So we're separating the glue tabs, and then we can work our way around and just take a wedge from each of the glue tabs. Then we're going to take our second section, fold and burnish along the score line, just take a wedge from the ends of the glue tab. Then we're going to bring up the shaped sides, and this is going to sit across the front to form the front of the base box, like so. I'll add glue. So that's going to be our base box. And then once your box is stuck together, you'll need a piece for the base, which is 3 inches by 3 inches, and that is going to adhere on like so. So that's our bottom box, which obviously you can change the size of, change the height of, and indeed change the angle of the sides if you so wish. We're now going to make the 2 trays, which are going to sit above and are going to wrap round above this piece. Again, these trays are going to be 3 inches square, and your starting cardstock is going to be 5 inches by 5 inches. And you'll score on all 4 sides at 1 inch. We'll have 2 of those, and they are going to be a very simple tray concept. We'll fold and burnish along all of the score lines. We'll create our corner glue tabs by cutting up the first vertical to the horizontal, cut up the second vertical to the horizontal, rotate 180 degrees and do the same at the other end. Take a wedge from the sides of these corner glue tabs. We will now add glue onto all of the corners. Pull the tab round and up, ensuring you get a nice neat right angle in the corner like so. We'll do that on all four sides. So once your base box and your trays are made, the next thing you need to do is consider what you're going to be putting in them and the spacing between the top of one box and the bottom of another. For instance, in this box here, this height here is 4 inches, but you may want to put something in it which is 5 or 6 inches. Therefore, you need your second tray to be above that and to allow for that gap. So the first thing I would do is consider what it is you're going to be putting in the boxes. If I know, for instance, that I'm not going to be putting anything higher or taller than 4 inches in this base box, my next tray could sit, let's say, 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 an inch or even flush with that box as the piece closes. So that could sit there. Then think about what it is that you want to go in the tray above it. If I know that what's going in the tray is not going to be any taller than 1 inch, my next tray could sit above like so. So that then is going to determine the height for your particular wrap and also the placement of your boxes within that wrap. So if, for instance, I decide I know that I've got 4 inches for this box here, I then want to have 1/2 an inch between that box and the bottom of this tray. I've got 1 inch for this tray. This one is going to be 1/2 an inch away, and this is 1 inch high. The height of my cardstock is going to be 4 plus 1/2, 4.5, plus 1, 5.5, plus 1/2, 6, plus 1, 7. So the height of my box is going to be 7 inches. So that's how you would work out the height of the cardstock that you're going to need. Now, in terms of the length of the wrap, you need to consider obviously the width of your boxes, which will all be the same. In this case, it's 3 inches. However, we also need to consider that our wrap is going to be wrapping around the cardstock, so running on the outside. So if we were to cut and add the pieces together as if they were 3 inches, by the time we get to side 4, we will end up with a slight gap. So what I'm going to do is work on 3 1/16 for the length of each side for the wrap. So I know by the time I get to the last side, the two ends are going to meet up. So my first piece of cardstock is going to be 3 1/16 plus 3 1/16. So that's going to be 6 1/8 plus a 1/2 inch glue tab. So that's going to be 6 5/8, which will be scored at 3 1/16, rotate 180 degrees and score at half. That will give me my two 3 1/16 sections. And my second piece is going to be 6 1/8 times 7, and that will be scored at 3 1/16. So let's cut those two pieces, and then hopefully that will show my thought process. So my first piece is 7 inches and it's 6 1/8 of an inch long. So I'm going to shift my cardstock along 1/16 of an inch and score at 3 1/8 of an inch. I'm going to do the same on this. It's 7 inches long, so this is 6 5/8 of an inch. I'm going to shift my cardstock along 1/16 of an inch and score at 3 1/8, and then I'm going to rotate 180 degrees and score at half. So each of these two sections is now 3 1/16 of an inch. So we'll start with this piece first, fold and burnish along the score lines. I'm going to take a wedge from the ends of this glue tab, and now we can glue this together like so. So if it's your intention to add some pattern paper behind the boxes so that the glue tab, for instance, is covered, you would probably want to do that now before we add the boxes in. Once your outer cover is made, the next thing we're going to do is secure our boxes into place. And what you need to think about is where you want your box to open, because that is going to affect where you place the base box and consequently where you place the inside trays. As an example, if I stick this box here on this far right panel, these sides are going to come around, and this means my secure mechanism is going to be in the back right hand corner, like so. So that means that this box would be stuck here, my next tray would be stuck on the one to the left of it, and then my last tray would be stuck like so. If I were to stick this base box to this left hand side, this is going to come around like so, and my piece is going to be secured on the back left, like so. So I would therefore have one box stuck in this panel and the next box stuck in that panel. So just consider how you want your boxes situated and how that's going to affect which side your box opens. You could, of course, have your base box on this square. This one could come across like so. This one could come up like so. So they will fold in, across, and it will then secure at the front. So before you stick anything into place, just play around with your wrap and your position of your boxes just to make sure they are going to be where you want them to be. I would like my opening to be in the front right hand corner, so I am going to stick my box into this second panel here, and then these boxes are going to be stuck like so. Before we start to stick the boxes into place, we want to add our pattern paper. I've cut mine to 6 3/4 inch long and 3 inches wide, so that the pattern paper is the same as the width of the boxes. So I'm now going to start to add my trays into place. Now, if you've cut your height to specifics and it's taller than your boxes, you may want to now make some faint pencil marks on this panel so that you then know where your boxes are going to be situated in terms of where they're going to sit within the height. I've only left a 1/2 inch gap between mine, and I'm just going to do that by eye. So I'm going to add construction glue to the back of the largest box, and that is going to sit on the second panel here. I'm going to make sure the base of the box is lined up with the edge of the wrap. Just stand it up and make sure that the box is sitting inside of the wrap, which it is like so. So I'm happy with the position of that. I can go in and burnish that down into place. My next box I know is going to sit roughly 1/2 inch above that, and I'm going to glue that into place. Again, I'm going to stand it up and make sure that the box is sitting within its side, which it is. So you can see that's fine. And then I'm going to add the last box into place, which is going to sit there. So let's add glue to this. I'm just going to sit that one there, and you can see that's going to come around over the top. These two are going to come together, and then the box is going to secure like so, and that's how it looks from the top. So the boxes are now stuck in place, and obviously I will add my closure mechanism here. And you'll note that obviously the contents of the top tray are going to be visible. Now, if you're wrapping them in something else, that's perhaps not an issue for you. But what I have done is I've created a separate lid, which is just going to sit over the top of the box like so. So the contents of the top tray will not be visible. This tray has been constructed in exactly the same way as the two smaller trays in the middle. However, to give me the additional width that I needed to get on the outside of the box, the starting cardstock was 5 1/8 of an inch times 5 1/8 of an inch, and I scored on all four sides at 1 inch. And that's just given me a little bit of extra width in this centre section so that the lid can sit down over the top of the box. So that's how the piece will sit on the desk. Obviously, if you want to reinforce any of these box bases, you can do, but now the box is ready for the remainder of its decoration. I've now added all of my pattern paper and I've used Craft Consortium Ink Drop Rose. I've added it onto all of the sides at the back and just added some ribbon underneath to create my closure. And I've used the same paper of slightly different colour variation on the inside. Overall, I'm really happy with how the project has come out, and by using construction glue and having extra layers of paper, by the time this is fully dried, this is actually going to be quite a stable project. And that's the box with the lid on. I'll quickly give you the sizes of pattern paper that I've used. The width of each of the pieces is 2 3/4. So the lid is 2 3/4 of an inch square, 2 3/4 by 3/4 on the lid, 2 3/4 by 6 3/4. The trays on the inside are the same as the lid, and then this piece is 1 3/4 times 2 3/4, and the sides I cut a panel which was 3 3/4 by 2 3/4 and sat it on the side and marked where I wanted the angles to come down. Once I'd cut one and I was happy, I used that to cut the other side. So there we have today's project. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. If you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing to the channel. And until next time, thanks for watching.